I didn't come from an artistic family. I came very much from a sporting family. Art was never on my horizon at all until one day I remember doing a drawing and it seemed something I had an aptitude for. I didn't do so well at school, so the only qualification I left with was an art O-level. It wasn't until my late 20s that I managed to get a place at art college. At the end of the degree, I got offered a show in a gallery totally out of the blue, and that went really well. And then I just took it step by step, and I sort of found another gallery, and I realised that people quite like my work and they like to buy it. And I quite like painting, so it was a good combination, really. When I went to art college, I went to do a pre-foundation course, and it was the best thing ever. For starters, you didn't have to wear a uniform. All the teachers were quite cool. For me, it was just the perfect place. It was just a whole different way of life. It was a world away from the world of sort of a nice school and rugby, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden, when no one's on your case, I felt like working. I enjoyed working at college. The one thing that I probably learned the most when I went to college was how to observe. I wouldn't imagine many people walk past here and stop and look at the houses. They think how nice it is, but they don't actually stop and look. There's something about this area, because I know it so well and I walk up and down it, most days, that I just felt like this was the place to paint, really. It's like painting what I know. When I first started drawing out on location, it was in France, so I was quite inspired by the quieter, the sort of suburbs of some of the French towns around Nice and Antibes, and then further over towards Toulon. The early stages is where a lot of the creativity happens, and then the trick really is to try and keep that freshness that you have. And often, I guess, a lot of artists are guilty of this, but you can overwork it, and then you lose that feeling, that sensation that you had. So over the years, I've kind of gone back to what I had in my youth, so I think that's really important, is to have a freedom, and it's very easy as an artist, because not many artists make a living, to get drawn into what will sell and what people will like, but actually the most important thing is to paint what you like, what is inside. This is the bottom of Gloucester Road. I like the fact that it's busy, and I quite looking up the Gloucester Road, and I quite like the buildings on the corner here. Kind of giving a slightly abstract feel. There's way too much detail to put everything in. So when I'm painting it, I try and get a feeling for the composition, just the bold shapes, maybe the colours, feeling of a place, and then I'll create almost like a backdrop, and then add little bits of information in between, like maybe the cars, the figures. My work was quite different. There's still very similar subject matters. It was still kind of waterfronts from around Europe. It was a lot safer. I think these days my aim is more to push the boundaries. When I first moved to Bristol about 25 years ago, I think that was the point I decided to try and make a living from my art. There's always that element of stress, but maybe that's part of the process that makes it interesting. I remember first going to Salcombe about 30 years ago. Probably before it's quite popular these days, so it's a little bit quieter, but I still love going there. And the thing I like about it most is we've got a little boat. That moment where you're away from everything, it's a really nice feeling I get when I'm on a boat. The kids love it too, my partner loves it, and it's very special. A lot of my ideas for painting come from when I'm in the boat. I'm always thinking that'll make a good painting, this will make a good painting. And then occasionally we'll sketch from the boat. My partner's an artist, so we'll take it in turns, but when we get a chance, you can sketch from the boat. You've got the peacefulness of the beaches. I love the sound of the beach, when you shut your eyes and you hear the noise of I guess, people being happy. It's quite exciting, really. Painting on the spot. I normally just make little studies, but I thought, well, since we're here, I might as well come out and do a bit of plein air, as they say. So I've been here a while, put this in, but weirdly enough, since I've been here now, the tide's come in, so I'm going to have to really try and remember what was happening beforehand. But for me, that's all really quite exciting. What I'm going to do today is just try and get some ideas of composition, just pencil some figures in. Let's see, we've got a nice big umbrella there, and some figures sat underneath it. So this is going to be the beginnings of a painting, and what I will do is take this back to the studio and then really work with it. One thing that's important about my work, and I'd say any artist is how I see things. And for a long time, I really used to just use photographs. It was only when I went to the south of France and I sort of took a sketchbook and I spent about a week drawing down there, and it enabled me to see, I think you have a process that happens when you draw. And if you spend a week drawing someone, and I'd recommend this to anyone, during that week, the way you see things changes. And I remember about midway through that week, it was like the penny dropped. And I suddenly thought, right, this is how you can create something, by looking and observing. And I just kept looking and seeing. I suddenly noticed that all around me were these potential paintings. So I drew. It was quite frenetic. And by the end of it, I had sort of sketchbooks filled with just some little notes, some detailed drawings. But for me, it was like it was the week that kind of, without sounding too dramatic, that sort of changed my life.